Thank you, French, but shalom, greetings to you all. I'm coming to you extra early this week because it is the beginning of the festival of Sukkot, which I said we would talk about, and this weekend's Torah portion coming up is going to be from Exodus and is one read when the holiday covers a weekend. And so this Sabbath is not a regular Torah reading Sabbath, it is the Hol HaMoed, the intermediate days of the holiday. And intermediate days, or Hol HaMoed, takes place during this holiday and during Passover. This is the 2nd through the 6th days, which is a pretty long intermediate period. This, my friends, is the Feast of Booths, most commonly translated to English as Feast of the Tabernacles, sometimes also as the Feast of the Ingathering. It is, of course, one of the biblical Jewish holidays called for, and it is celebrated on the 15th day of the month of Tishrei, which can be any time from late September to late October. Now, Tishrei is a very busy month. The first is the Yom Teruah, the day of horn blasting, now Rosh Hashanah, and the 10th is the Day of Atonement. And here we are at the 15th, the Feast of Booths, Sukkot. Now, during the existence of the Jerusalem Temple, it was one of the 3 pilgrimage festivals called for, the Shalosh Regalim, on which the Israelites were commanded to perform a pilgrimage to the temple. And that, my friends, makes this a 3,300-year-old holiday. It has been followed and observed almost as long as Passover has. Now, during Sukkot, many people build and live part of their lives in the Sukkot, the booth. You're supposed to eat your meals there, and you are to sleep there. Now, of course, in northeastern weather, these 2 requirements, depending on when in the year it is, can appear to be like the afflictions of Yom Kippur. This year, it's not such an ordeal at all. Now, the sukkah, or booth, represents many things. It is believed to be the little hut the wilderness generation would have lived in during the 40-year sojourn. During temple times, it was believed to be the little huts used during the harvesting to allow the workers to stay in the fields, and of course to those who look for the deeper meaning. It represented the cloud that descended around the tent of meeting and dictated the moving and staying of the wilderness generation and signified the divine presence, or Shekhinah, when it was descended to earth. Now, I don't think it matters what your belief is. It is all this and more. Now, for those who will be dwelling in a sukkah or eating in one, here is the blessing you would recite. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'shev b'sukkah. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to dwell in the sukkah. And when you see your friends, you greet them by saying Hag Sameach, which means joyous or happy festival. And yes, it is also said during Shavuot, the festival of weeks, and during Passover, the festival of freedom. We say it all the time, and now you know why and what it means. Now, we also have developed a great short spiritual ritual ceremony called the Ushpizin, which is an Aramaic word meaning guests. It is said to invite mystical guests into the festivities. Now, on the first day we say, I invite to my meal the exalted guests Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David. May it please you, Abraham, my exalted guest, that all the other exalted guests dwell with me and with you. Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David. On each day, a different one of the 7 is singled out in order. Each of the Ushpizin, in his wanderings, contributed to the world through a respective personal characteristic: loving kindness, strength, splendor, glory, holiness, eternity, sovereignty, all of which are also found in the Sephirot on the Tree of Life. Reflecting the periods of homelessness and wandering in their lives, our temporary dwellings can inspire us to emulate the benefits they brought to the world. Now, the Sephardim, the Jews of Spanish or Mediterranean ancestry, sometimes set aside a special chair laden with holy books for the Ushpizin. And they have a particular order. They invite the patriarchs, then the leaders, prophets, Moses and Aaron, and then finally royalty, Joseph and David. And what is especially wonderful is they often send provisions to the poor along with a note saying, this is the share of the Ushpizin. Friends, we have always been told and always have upheld the caring for those who cannot care for themselves. Charity and care is part of our genetic makeup. May Make it part of yours. And what is also nice is that recently it has become popular in some circles to invite matriarchs and other important women of Israel. Sarah, Rachel, Rebecca, Leah, Miriam, Abigail, and Esther, either paired with the men or on their own. Friends, we know the beginning of hospitality to guests in the Bible can be found in the stories of Abraham. But the great Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran said, "If it were not for guests, all houses would be graves." How true. Guests bring life, and this is the festival of guests and life. I encourage each of you to invite someone to dine with you as your ushpazim, if not in your Sukkot, then in your home sometime this week. Now, on each day of the holiday, it is mandatory to perform a waving ceremony with the 4 species. We shake the 4 species of plants, the arba minim, consisting of palm, myrtle, and willow, which make the lulav, together with the citron, the etrog. It is often referred to as the holiday of and the blessing of the 4 species, the lulav and etrog. There are different reasons given as to why these, but I'll give you my spin on the most popular of the spiritual interpretations, and you can certainly look up all the others. These represent the characteristics of man. The etrog, which has both a pleasant taste and pleasant scent, represents people who have achieved knowledge of the spiritual laws and perform good deeds, or mitzvot. The palm branch, which can produce tasty fruit but has no scent, represents those who have knowledge of the law but lack in performance. And the myrtle leaf, which has a strong scent but no taste, represents those who perform good but actually have little knowledge of spiritual law. The willow, which has neither taste nor scent, represents those who have no knowledge of spiritual law and perform no good. Now, if you had to pick one, be the myrtle. Regardless of your level of spiritual knowledge, open your heart to good. And we bring all 4 of these types together during the holiday to remind us that every one of us and every one of these people is important, and that we must all be united. Now, each day of the holiday of Sukkot, excluding the Sabbath, of course, we move the 4 species, the lulav and etrog set, 3 times in each of 6 directions, immediately after reciting the blessing. Now, many do this by turning around while extending the 4 species in each direction, eastward, southward, westward, northward, then facing upward and downwards. Now, according to the Kabbalistic explanation taught by Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Arizal, the holy rabbi, we do not actually turn in each direction. Instead, we face eastward the whole time and extend the species, southward, northward, eastward, upward, downward, and westward. After each movement, the lulav and etrog are brought towards the heart. Now, the Chabad custom is to bring the 4 species close enough to actually touch the area of the chest where the heart is located, and they move in the directions in a completely different order. Now, the Arizal explained that the 6 directions represent the 6 emotions corresponding to spheres on the tree of life. South is kindness, which is chesed. North is discipline, which is gevurah. East is harmony, which is tiferet. Up is perseverance, which is netzach. Down is submission, which is hod. West is connection, yesod. And bringing the 4 species towards the heart is all about communication, malchut. Now, my good friend Malcolm, a great fisherman, will tell you that the motion is that of casting a fishing rod. I myself am not much of a fisherman, so I won't even pretend to demonstrate that stroke for you. So let's all grab our lulav and etrog, our 4 species, and recite the blessings. Now, the basic daily blessing before waving is Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tivanu al netilat lulav. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments, and has commanded us concerning the waving of the lulav. On the first day of waving, we add a bonus blessing, one said on many joyous occasions. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechechienu, v'kiyamenu, v'higienu, lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustenance, and permitted us to reach this joyous time. At this point, you wave or shake your lulav and etrog in the following manner. You stand facing east, you hold it out in front of you, and you shake it 3 times. And each time the motion of shaking should be drawing into you. Reach, draw in. Reach out, draw in. Reach out, draw in. And you repeat the same motion 3 times to your right, behind your shoulder, to your left, raising it up above you and lowering it down below you. All of these should be done slowly and deliberately, concentrating on the intentions of the act. Think of the inviting of the guests, of the sharing with those less fortunate, and for the good that you have in your life. And let's take a minute, friends, to think of those less fortunate and send some healing energy out to them. And we do the Misha Berach, the one who blessed, the entreaty of God to bless those in need of healing. And this goes out to Karen and her kids, Abby and Matthew. Misha Berach Avotenu, Makor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu, Makor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah, shlima, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Bless everybody you know, my friends. Send out all the healing energy you can. Now, thank you for joining me. We have shared a sukkah and welcomed each other as guests. I'll see you next week when we get to go to the bottom and go back to the top of the slide. In the beginning, Shabbat Shalom.